As a threat to China with economic sanctions if it helps Russia get past the sanctions Washington will impose. In relation to the Ukraine crisis, the threat was conveyed to a State Department spokesman. As Ned Price, the U.S. has a range of tools that we can use if we see foreign companies, including those on the channel, doing their best to replenish control measures. Exports to avoid it in order to get around it. During a press conference on February 4, 2022, if one should have thought that it would be in a position to mitigate some of the consequences. If Russia thinks that it will get Bruno in a position to mitigate some of those consequences with closer ties with China, it doesn't happen. This will actually make the Russian economy in many ways more fragile. Further, Price refers to the U.S. hypothesis sanctions against Moscow. Possible invasion of Ukraine. Netflix continues to warn Russia that they cannot survive without the West, claiming that if you deny your ability to transact with the West, to import with the West from Europe and the United States, you will significantly reduce the productive capacity of your innovative potential. Price claims to have evidence of ICE intelligence that Russia was planning a false flight or false flag operation against Ukraine, meaning that Moscow will fabricate attacks by our troops to serve as a pretext for justification for military aggression against Ukraine. Moscow has repeatedly dismissed accusations that it was planning the invasion of Ukraine as hysteria and fake news. Even Keep at one point criticized Western officials and media for ruining the economy with constant fear of an imminent war. Meanwhile, the Secretary General of NATO Jens Stoltenberg said the deployment of Russian troops in Belarus was the largest number since the end of the Cold War. The deployment of troops includes special forces against the Damascus Condor ballistic missile to the missile system, the S-400. In a statement made after a meeting with the Prime Minister of North Macedonia, Dimitar Coffee section on Thursday, software modules that sent a combat unit totaling 30,000 personnel, including special fitness troops, to the Belarusian training ground. Large numbers of troops have been deployed to Belarus in recent weeks, which Stoltenberg describes as the highest concentration of Russians seen in the area for decades. Price said U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi had a lengthy discussion about the potential implications of Russia's actions against Ukraine in a phone call last week. Asked to comment on Price's remarks, Liu Pengilo, a spokesman for the Chinese embassy in Washington, said, "We have taken note of the relevant reports. Creating tension is not good for easing the Ukraine crisis, but only adds more uncertainty in the region and overall in the world. China is firmly against this." China's foreign ministry earlier said Wang met Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and expressed understanding and support for Russia's position on relations with the United States and NATO. It said the two sides were coordinating their positions on regional issues of mutual concern, such as Ukraine, Afghanistan, and the situation on the Korean Peninsula. Russia cannot expect much from China to help its country in the face of threats from the United States and Europe. Russia could face this threat if it launched an invasion of Ukraine. Unfortunately, the country led by President Vladimir Putin cannot hope that the bamboo curtain country will offer more than words to support its neighbor. Beijing's diplomatic and military ties with Moscow may be strong, but its economic fidelity is far more complex. Putin met his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on Friday as the Beijing Winter Olympics kicked off. The Russian government described the meeting as a warm and constructive one, and the leaders agreed to deepen their cooperation. Russian oil giant Rosneft said it had agreed to increase supplies to China over the next decade. "Working together, we can achieve steady economic growth and stand together against the risks and challenges of today," said Putin.